So, and then now, oh, did you change the input? Okay.
Paid source.
So you change that to 2. And you were gonna.
Aren't those
connect
nice?
To WRC.
Mallory designed them.
Room 1.
Sorry, you got to all see yourselves.
Yeah, you do, right?
It's just, it's a
Oh, that's
little
right.
different.
He can show you.
Oh, here your control panel. There, right next to it. Yep, right there, and then you're gonna go to screen share.
Yeah,
WRC TR1. It's gonna do some really wacky things to your computers the first time you connect it. Code is 247. Okay, it makes your screen really small.
Okay, I think I can handle that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank you. No problem.
Ah.
No, that's not what we need to be looking at. That's your face. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, why are you doing that?
Sure.
Nope, I didn't like that.
It made it bigger.
For me.
Nope, that's not working.
Sorry, if you need an extra.
If you will go to the Apple, if you can see it. And then you'll go to System Preferences. If you can see it, should be towards the top. Yeah. And then you should find one that says Display.
Yep.
Okay. And under Display, it should have, let me come over here so I can see it. Not breathing down your neck here. Go to Optimize Forward. See it down at the bottom? Or the second one down from the top, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, click and then click on the number above that. There you go.
That was nice.
Simple.
I was worried my
So-
eyesight was going.
Well, now you've connected once, it will be great. Like, it's the first time.
Thank you.
Computer. It's not. Broke the Wi-Fi in the house.
Would y'all like some printed copies also? I'm gonna talk up there, but I do have print. You have anything you wanna pass out to us while I'm over there? I could grab it for
I
you.
do. Let me grab, this is the document email.
I actually printed copies of that already,
Oh,
so I think we're good.
okay.
Here, thank you.
Very good.
Thanks. Thank you, appreciate you. Brand new. Okay. Well, hello, how's it going, folks?
Good.
All right, so this first page is gonna look the same as what I gave you last week, because it is the same. This is just the big picture of what we noticed in our notice letter in March. So that is unchanged. What we have after that is a bit of a progress report. There is some color coding going on there. If you have questions about that, you just let me know. This is really friendly to how my brain works. If it's not friendly to how your brain works, though, I'm happy to give you insights. So I'm just gonna kind of go through where we're at with our compensation items and language items, and then we can talk about the new numbers that you sent over to us earlier this week. Anything else that you want to talk about, if that works for you? All right, so starting with our compensation items, we've got that noticed item 1A. This is first little table at the top. This is step and column movement, and I marked the status as tentative agreement on that one only because in the board's offer, that was there also. So it seemed to me that we were on the same page about that. But we can pause and talk about it if we want to. Perfect. Okay, so 1B, this is our increase to the base salary. We asked for 3,000, the board offered 1,500, so we've not reached an agreement about that. I do want to stop and emphasize for a moment the framing that we're coming from for our kind of big picture for this negotiations cycle, which is retention. You know that we have a massive teacher shortage nationally, and it's hitting us in Kansas also. It's a very big deal to us that we're competitive with neighboring districts because our recruitment and retention really depend on that competitiveness. For some numbers, just to break down kind of where we're at with our neighboring districts. This is that points of emphasis box there at the bottom. So right now, Baldwin has added 2,000 and their new base salary is 42,800. For context, starting out, ours right now is 41.5. I know that you all know that, but not everybody listening necessarily does. DeSoto has added 2,500. They have a new base salary of 47,000. In Gardner, they've added 2,400 for a new base of 46,650. Olathe has moved to a new salary schedule, and their base salary is 46,000. Spring Hill has added 1,000 for a new base salary of 47,000. And Wellsville is still in negotiations, but they will settle between 3,000 and 5,000 on the base, which will bring them to 41,220 right now, or which is currently 41,220. So it'll bring them, you know, at the very least 44,220, right? Yes. Right now we're at 41.5. So again, we're just coming back to that point of like, at bare minimum, how are we going to be competitive with our neighboring districts, who we are quite literally competing with right now to fill open positions in our district. Would you like to chat about that, or do you want me to just keep on going?
Just go through everything. And then...
Perfect. Okay. Item 1C, we had noticed was additional compensation for folks that are frozen on the salary schedule, and that's that additional step at the bottom. The board requested more time to cost that item and then provided the cost to us after that, which I think are at 15, where did you get it? 15,450. That was close to where we costed it also, so I think we're in agreement about those numbers, but we haven't reached an agreement about that item yet, obviously, because that work just happened between the last session and this one.
That's certainly affected more staff members than I thought, which is a good thing. I mean, it was at 19%, maybe one month, about 19% of our teaching staff had been stepped out at 23 staff members.
Our feeling is that that's a pretty inexpensive way to work toward retention of our folks that have been stuck at that spot for a long time. And then on item 1D, this is the reorganization of supplemental pay. The team presented a new supplemental schedule at the June 20th meeting a month ago. Last week, we talked about some concerns about potential responses to those revisions of pay, and then the board had the suggestion that perhaps we form an additional committee to investigate that issue. We are still asking for the adoption of the new supplemental salary schedule. However, we did hear what the board was saying about continually, we do have supplemental changes and needs, and that those are difficult to respond to at every time. We have to handle them only at the negotiations table, and there's no other time or place to do that. So we are still asking that that schedule be adopted, but we would like to, through the framework that we kind of tentatively agreed to last time about committee composition, we would like to form a committee for ongoing supplemental review, just a standing committee, and that language relates to that concept there. So I won't read it to you because I know you can read, but. And then notice item 2A, this is an increase to the base defined health insurance benefit to cover the cost of a single premium low deductible PPO. The language is there. It hasn't changed since our initial offer. We are obviously not in agreement about that yet. We didn't talk about this a ton, but I just know that the cost was the concern that the board cited in the last meeting, so that's what I wrote there. Under 4A, this is our committee composition language. I think we made our way to the actual language last session, and then the board tentatively agreed to that language, so that's where we're at with that. And then teacher representation, I went out of order because it wouldn't fit on the page well the other way, so. The teacher representation language that we brought has undergone a lot of transition with the board's feedback, which has been valuable and important for us to hear. So last time we presented the language with the addition of that purple language saying like the representative will recuse themselves if there are like student privacy concerns with protected information. We heard the board's concerns that parents might be incredibly uncomfortable with those representation pieces happening in a meeting, or they might not understand why that's necessary or why that's not going to be an obstacle for their child. Or we heard that. So we are amending that language once more to remove the phrase conferences with parents. So with the removal of the red text and the addition of the purple text, that's where we are currently at on our side. So.
All right, thank you. Any other items you wanted to add to that? Okay.
We don't have color on ours.
Ours is
So
simple
we
white.
can see that.
We have smudges on ours.
Do you wanna, I can hop off if you wanna hop on my computer now.
No, I'll just try to follow this as well and kind of walk through this as it relates.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So we went back and, did ask Stu to rerun the numbers again too, just to make sure all the numbers pan out. We're not forgetting anything, there's any additional funds. It was we spent quite a bit of time as a board as well, at our last meeting last week, talking through these items and just making sure as a board, we kind of had, a path forward as far as what we felt we could do, and that Stu and the staff had identified all the funds that we could get to. So as we walk through this, I'll just kind of, you see before you the dollar amounts that we have calculated for all the various costs. Included within that is the addition of the row amount of $15,450. So at this point, we are kind of calculating that amount into our expected expenses for for this coming school year. So we would like to agree to that particular item, and maybe that would be item 1C. And again, we would want to just make sure it's very clear and in writing, that everyone understands that addition of that row in each column would just be just a one-time step. It wouldn't be, anyone who may have been frozen for 10 years or whatever wouldn't have that. I think we all understand and realize that. So as long as everyone's on the same page with that is one area that we would like to try to accommodate that is over and above kind of what we had felt was going to be, something we were comfortable with when we last met. Beyond that, if we go back to, 1A, we're still in agreement with, we're good there. 1B, as far as increase to the base, we'll completely get this section down below, and it's sobering for sure to see what is out there for other teachers. The reality is, though, is that we simply do not have a credit card. We do not have another pool or a way to go about getting funds. With our general fund increase of a little over 450,000, with what we've listed here, that's going in the red 100,000. So that's dipping into that LOB fund, our contingency funds, those things that we hope that the expenses don't go up too much. Fuel doesn't go up too much, electricity, the unexpected things, as well as the yearly increases that come every year. We hope that it doesn't go in the hole too much, because really as a board, we're uncomfortable the fact that we're kind of in the red 100,000 from our general fund. So while we'd like to address this and do more than the 1,500, we told Stu the only way we could do that is we need to find funds somewhere else, and that means looking for cuts within the organization. So at this stage, we're not sure where that would come from, what those cuts would be. Maybe it's an exercise for future years, but really we want to avoid that if possible. We want to stop. We don't want to take programs, activities, things that we've established and work hard to put in place. We don't want to start pulling those off the table. So from a space standpoint, 1,500 is really all that we can really afford. With 120 staff, every $100 on the base is about $12,000. So we had even talked about if we didn't want to do the addition of the row, we could put another $100 on and go up to 1,600, which 120 people would benefit from. Or if you want to do the addition of the row, that's fine too. But we just wanted to lay that out. That's kind of what the $100 on the base kind of equates to, every $100 that we go up. So unfortunately, it's difficult news to deliver. It always is, but it's kind of the best that we have, the best we can do. Our hands are a bit tied here. So again, under 1C, with the addition of the row, again, we are in agreement with that. 1D, the reorganization of the supplemental pay schedule. We like this. We like this in that it's a good start, and we feel like this is where it needs to get to. But as far as what we had before, no one quite knows what it is, and what this is today, well, it is a a couple people did the work, which we appreciate, but we really feel like we need more input. We need to make sure that we're not paying some person who is spending, 400 hours, the same thing that, and working with 60 parents and 60 students, the same as maybe someone who might be spending 40 hours with 8 students and eight parents. So we just want to make sure and get buy-in from everybody that this is something that is appropriate for our district, or, this might be on average what works on average, but it may not be entirely appropriate for what our district's needs are at this time. So we would still propose that we bring a member or two of the board together with a couple administrators and as many representatives from your side as well to kind of sit down and talk through this. Certainly from a funding standpoint, these numbers do not include the $70,000+ it would take to fund the schedule. So that by itself kind of makes this an impossible task to accomplish right now this summer. But if we had a start on it and we could work through it and get to where we have some clarity, for instance, like what makes up a club? Can anyone just say, I'm going to have checkers club this year, or whatever those might be? Some of those questions that just come from all the different roles that land on this, and have some definition around that and sort of a process and that goes through, you go through to put something like that in place, or to maybe even create a new position that lands on this. Like maybe we added middle school FBLA a couple of years ago, or we added, as we add new things, just talk through what does that look like? Who does it need to go through to make the determination of where that lands each time something's added? So we would really like to go this route, and we appreciate the work that's been done to this point. We think it's a great first step. We would just like to continue this in the year ahead, trying to make sure that we have it just right for our district.
Thinking big picture, and before when you guys have done the work on this, you had what we had and nobody had a vision of what we could have. You've created a vision of what we could have through this. But my concern, and I know the board's as well, is 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, none of us are sitting around this table anymore, except for maybe go on year 51. How are we going to be able to explain it to those people? Because we'll be back right to where we're at now is, well, why is the salary schedule? Well, I talked to the high school athletic director and this is her thoughts. And so trying to spend a year trying to figure that out with representation, with our 2 athletic directors, with Jack, if you want Jack to do it, but to have that discussion, to have that paper trail to say, we've done the work. And that way, when there is questions, it's not, well, we looked at other people's and this is how we came up with it.
Well, and also if there is any hard feelings, if there's any, finger pointing, it's not necessarily, well, my representation did it. It was done as part of the committee. It was the board's responsibility. It was the administrators. It was the, association. It was a group effort that came to that resolution. So, and then on the last, let's see, what do we have here? That was 1G.
2A,
Oh, did I skip over 2A?
no,
Okay, yes, 2A, I'm sorry, yes. So $50 more per month would be great if we could, but again, it is another expense. And quickly, I think there's 180 folks.
We have 184 people that currently take our school insurance. So adding 50 to that and multiplying that by 12 months.
180 people 180 people that take our school insurance and take that level of plan that would.
All I asked HR was that they,
Sure.
because you're looking at
Those would
putting
be different.
$50 across the board to that base, so that everybody will benefit that takes it on that, so.
Right, for the people who take that plan.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be about 110,000 additional dollars, which again isn't listed up here. So I mean that basically you'd have to be removing or cutting or reducing one of those line items in order to put that in place. And again, if $100 on the base, every $100 covers $12,000, that would take about $800.
In the context of you're only using new money and only using the general fund, correct?
In what way?
What we're
Yeah.
looking at here, these numbers.
Yeah.
It's new money, general fund only, right? Not the LOB and, right?
Right.
Just clarifying. what
Yep. Yep, for sure. So that is that. So while we would like to accept that offer, we simply do not have the funds in order to do so. And then the item 4A with the committee compensation, again, we've reached agreement on that. We feel good about that and think that's a great opportunity there. And then is 3A, the last page here, the last one. So on 3A, the board talked about this extensively, and I think at this point, while we can appreciate the desire, ultimately we want to avoid a situation that creates contention, and we want to also avoid a situation that puts undue burden on our administrators if they want to pull staff aside or have a one-on-one or something when they may be told, I need up to 3 days in order to meet with you. We just don't want to necessarily put that situation in place. So while we can understand the ask at this point, the board is not interested in moving forward with that component.
Of the 184 that are on insurance, can you tell me, do you know the breakdown of certified, classified, admin that are within those numbers?
Do not know that. I just know we have a total of 184. And the only question I'd have is, would we change the level for different group?
Anything else you want to tell us?
I don't think so. So any other questions we have?
I think we want to caucus for a few minutes, if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Sure.
We've had a little time to caucus, and I think we're not comfortable going back to our bargaining unit with an offer on the base that doesn't keep us competitive with surrounding districts. And so we're gonna ask you to go back to the drawing board and schedule another meeting.
But as far as with the intention of coming back with, like, we'll find more money,
Correct.
I don't know that that's really possible, is it?
The only thing would be to find a way to move to insurance out of there, the sped assessment and the insurance, but you're only talking about potentially $400 extra. That would be it, and that puts in jeopardy other pieces as well.
So you all are still looking for 3,000?
We are.
Okay. Sounds like we're not gonna be at a point where we're gonna be able to really have reasonable. Either side is gonna be able to move a whole lot, so what do we suggest is the next step? Do we wanna?
Not even taken into consideration, I mean, we had a kindergarten teacher that we didn't fill that spot last year. We have a 5th grade position not filled this year.
Well, since we hired that kindergarten position,
Okay.
okay, and then 5th grade towards the end of the year wasn't filled, but then if we give that, if that money then goes out of the budget and into another area, we're back in square one again last year because we're short that budget dollars when we want to rehire that position back. But then you're talking about truly, okay, we're going to just cut that position. Same with, with any teacher that resigns or quits, that's the step of evaluating through attrition, how we can find more budgetary dollars.
Not say, but I mean, like, if we look at enrollment numbers, what's the smallest class of the elementary school right now? Do you know?
I would say it would probably be 2nd grade. That would have been the COVID kindergartners. I think they've up to 90 students.
Yeah.
We're currently enrolling over 100. At mid-June, we thought we were a little over 112 incoming kindergartners.
I know in years past, we just shifted.
Yes.
So taking a teacher and moved them from a smaller class to a larger class. Historically, like actually replacing a position instead of shifting. I mean, we usually shift teachers
Sure.
as opposed to replacing them
Oh, I think we do both.
on occasion. But like if we have a class of 100 and it's 112 going through every year, it'll be at least 5 years before that position gets refilled every year. I don't know. If we're banking on growth in our community, like we talk about, and growth within the other neighboring towns, I think we have a responsibility to find some ways and to figure it out. Otherwise, growth is going to be nothing when you can't hire teachers to come here.
No,
I mean, you're not
I
going to
hear
get
that argument.
quality.
I know, I hear that argument, and I guess I would say that when I look at the staff that we have right now, we have very high quality. We just heard that 19% of our staff are at that lower level, which means they've been here a long time. We have a longevity stipend that is a benefit that keeps people here. I went to the new teacher onboarding day a few weeks ago, 40-some folks in the room, all very excited, all very high quality folks. So I think there's more to this district than just simply the base salary. Obviously, we would love to be able to raise the base salary if we had the funds to do so. And we come to this table every time with, here's what we've got, and we're going to give all that we got in this particular scenario to as much as we can to the teachers so that we can benefit the teachers. But we're a poor district. We don't have additional funds that we can go get that. And so when I look at our district and see that we have quality staff, we have a community that supported this district with a 75% pass on the bond issue, which is this unheard of, this is a good place. And so there's more to the quality of life than just simply the salary. But we will do everything we can every year to increase the salary, but we're up against the wall. We don't have places to go get that money.
To your point about the growth, when you see that growth, that obviously means more students, which means a larger head count, which means more dollars in the general fund. So that does, thinking it 5 years out in the future, 10 years out in the future, that does open up more funds for salaries for all staff members, teachers, certified, classified, and admin. But then the discussion is, okay, what's our appropriate class size level? Because we have pretty low class size levels now comparatively to other districts. And so now if that then continues, yeah, we could certainly bank funds for those. But then, as you said, if that growth becomes hiring new staff so that we're not at 25 in a kindergarten. But there does become a breakaway point where there is more funding for salaries out of that.
So 1,500 is where you're at. Are you declaring impasse? Is that where we're at?
We are at the extent of what we can offer at this point. We don't have anything further we can offer.
And I think we'll be in touch on next steps then. Thank you.
All right, thank you.